The prosperous CBD in S City was just during lunchtime when office workers from nearby office buildings flocked out, looking for food everywhere. Popular Tanmi novels, www.sto123.cc. The ladies' little high heels rattled, and the men's suits were stiff, with door cards hanging from their ties, swinging on their chests. Yishui's well dressed, the elite of the elite. In the crowd, there is only one girl who is different and out of place. Everyone who passed her looked at her in horror. After all these days, there are not many people who dare to wander around CBD in pajamas at noon. The girl wore a pajamas with a brown bear printed on it, her long hair draped softly across her shoulders, and a small face. In fact, everyone who passed by was thinking that although the girl was dressed strangely, her small face was surprisingly holy and beautiful. Pure as an angel. The skin is white and flawless, and the innocent and ignorant eyes are crystal clear. Everyone who happened to stare directly at those eyes would involuntarily turn his head and avoid him in the next second, lest he be seen through the despicableness and sordidness hidden in his heart. But people's attention was quickly attracted by other things. An arc cut across the sky. Almost immediately, there was a loud bang in the middle of the road, and in an instant, an extra pit appeared on the flat and wide asphalt road. It looked like a meteorite fell from the sky. The sudden braking of the vehicle and the sound of the horn sounded together. Many pedestrians stopped. A bold driver opened the door and got out of the car and walked towards the crater. The girl didn't even glance over there, and went on. "That thing?" the girl asked in her head. A cheerful male voice replied, "Yes." Suddenly a scream broke out on the road. The infection started. The person who had passed by the meteorite twitched and fell to the ground, mutated, and then rushed to the next person with blood-red eyes and madly biting. All of them seemed to have not eaten in 10 years. 1 past 2, 2 past 4, exponential growth is amazing. For a while, I couldn't tell whether it was a sidewalk or a driveway, and there were rushing people and chasing zombies everywhere. In the crazy chaos of the apocalyptic scene, only the girl is still keeping the same pace as before, moving forward along the sidewalk. There were more and more zombies, and soon they were in groups, as if they were running a marathon, just when they were energetic and happy from the starting point. A squad of zombies screamed and rushed behind the girl. Like a sudden encounter in the same way, the zombies automatically moved away to the left and right as soon as they approached. Go past her, and continue to rush towards the next living person. It seems that the girl is a telephone pole and a tree. Wave after wave, the zombies rushed by like a tide, and everyone treated the girl as a transparent person. The girl's name is Bainuan. Just 10 minutes ago, Bainuan was still wearing her beloved bear pajamas, lying on her comfortable bed and reading a novel. Halfway through, she suddenly received a call from the courier brother. Bainuan went downstairs and walked to the gate of the community without seeing the shadow of the courier brother. When I was looking around, there was a loud bang, and a large truck carrying goods for the supermarket suddenly rushed towards Bainuan like crazy. Just as the truck turned over dangerously and was about to crush Bainuan into a cake, Bainuan crossed. There was a pleasant male voice in his head, claiming to be System Number 3, and told Bainuan that she had put in a eschatological essay without CP called Apocalypse. Bainuan has read this book. It tells the story of the male protagonist Liu Xingqi leading a team to chop melons and vegetables all the way in a zombie apocalypse. Sadly, Bainuan Chuan became the female partner of the same name in the book. The female partner is not a minor disease. She usually drags the team back. The key is that at the end of the book, to save a city, she kills all the protagonists in one fell swoop. For the great things that the villains and zombies failed to do in the entire book, the readers scolded him as a sieve. Fortunately, Bainuan still remembers the plot in the book. When thinking about how to go straight to the safe zone, the number 3 brought a sad news: it's not okay to OOC without authorization, and it's not okay to hide directly into the safe area. You must be a Virgin Mary carefully, and the Virgin Mary can return to the original world when she is full. Bainuan was silent, in the original world, am I being crushed by a big truck? Why go back and die? Rather than being crushed to death by a truck, it is better to live in a pile of zombies for 2 more days to enjoy life. Even if you become a zombie, you might still be a happy zombie, chasing and biting people all over the street, standing firmly at the top of the food chain. It's better than going back and being squashed by a car. Number 3 answered very quickly, if the Virgin is full before the end of the plot of this book, and the mission is completed, the fate of death in a car accident in the original world will be changed automatically. What if it can't be completed? For example, what should I do if the zombie gnaws halfway through the progress? Number 3 answered even faster, go back if you can't complete the task. Go back and hit the second half of your car accident. After hitting the first half, cross over to give the zombies a bite, and go back catch up to the second half. Fine. I wear a book as I wear a book, why am I still wearing my own pajamas? Bainuan asked number 3. Because the book didn't say what you were wearing, I kept all your outfits, clothes, shoes, hair length, pierced ears and the like. Only such a few words were written in the book about your appearance. Reading number 3, Lu Xingqi and Du Ruo picked up another girl named Bainuan at the S1 highway entrance out of the city, no more. Sure enough, it was a proper supporting role treatment. Another wave of horse racing zombies rushed over, one not paying attention, almost ran into Bainuan, and quickly gave way to the side. I'm almost sorry. Bainuan glanced at the upper right corner of the field of vision, where there was a beautiful dizzy little circle. The 4 characters below are shining brightly novice halo. After a glance, small characters will automatically appear to explain, passive zombies ignore the skill, duration, until the task of finding the male lead is completed. As soon as he entered the world, number 3 said, don't worry too much, there is novice aura protection at the beginning, and you will not be attacked by zombies. Bainuan thought, what else do you look for? Just let this halo hang like that, it's good. Bainuan walked forward for a short while, and after passing several office buildings, he finally saw a few shops. As if shopping, Bainuan's family walked past one after another, and there was no one inside. Finally, there is a medical equipment store. This time there were people in the store. 2 people wearing clerk clothes strolled between the shelves. They were trying to find the door everywhere. When they saw Bainuan coming in, they ignored them. No enthusiasm for customers at all. Bainuan ignored them and found a cervical spine therapy device on the shelf, hooping it around her neck. The cervical spine therapy device is a plastic ring with a cushion, 360 degrees to protect the neck professionally, this zombie's favorite part. There was a jacket on the seat in the counter, and a motorcycle helmet was next to it, which should belong to a zombie shop assistant. Bainuan put on the jacket, which was obviously a male model, several sizes larger, and covered her thigh. He buckled the motorcycle helmet on his head. The helmet and the cervical spine therapy device are fighting a bit, but they can barely make do. There are several fashion magazines on the shelf next to him. Bainuan found a roll of plastic rope and tied the magazines to his arms and legs. Japanese magazines tie their arms and European and American leggings. Perfect. Finally, I turned out a backpack at the counter, which contained a wallet and mobile phone. Bainuan carried it on his back. After getting dressed, Bainuan took a picture of the glass. Although the shape is quite strange, but compared with the ordinary people who are unprepared outside who are being chased by zombies and bitten, it is up and down, a godlike costume. A zombie clerk finally found the door and rushed out happily to join the horse racing army. The other zombie was still crashing in the maze, but for some reason, it stopped suddenly. His focusless eyes slowly turned to Bainuan's direction. Is the novice halo useless? The zombies dashed suddenly and rushed over. Bainuan flashed back, only to realize that the zombie's target was not himself at all. He crossed Bainuan, rushed all the way to the door, and went straight to a person passing by outside the store. He was a boy in jeans and a black hooded sweater. He was wearing a hood, and the zipper was pulled under his nose, only showing a pair of black and white eyes. His cat is in the corner, sneaking, hiding from the zombies on the road. The man with the hood didn't pay attention to this side, but a hungry tiger rushed to the ground by the clerk's zombie. The boy raised a pair of long legs and violently kicked the zombie, turning over and crawling forward. The zombies were a little embarrassed by him, but he refused to lose the food that came to his mouth immediately, and he persevered. Bainuan walked over and stretched out his hand. Like a juggling in his hand, a huge oxygen cylinder emerged out of thin air. A person-height steel cylinder weighs several tens of kilograms. With Bainuan's thin arms, he can't move it. The cylinder went straight to the head of the zombie without any suspense and smashed it down, and the zombie stopped moving in an instant. The hooded man got up and kicked the zombies, only to find that he was really finished, and he was relieved. It's so dangerous. Looking at the steel cylinder on the ground again, I was very touched. You brought a steel cylinder so big and heavy from the store to save me? You are so kind. Of course, it is impossible for Bainuan to move the cylinder out of the store. It was taken directly by Bainuan from the portable space. As soon as he entered this world, Number 3 asked Bainuan to randomly select a new lucky bag and open a good thing one upper and lower 2 floors, each floor is larger than the IKEA warehouse. Number 3 said that there is no time in the upper layer, and the food can be kept fresh automatically. There is no female partner in the original book of this portable space, which is very powerful. It's a pity that it's empty. Before dark, the entire city of S will fall, and all become infected areas occupied by zombies. There is no need to leave supplies to the zombies. When visiting the store from house to house, Bainuan put all the things that he thought would be useful into the space, including this oxygen cylinder. Of course, the hooded man didn't know this. He looked up and down Bainuan's strange outfit. You are well equipped. That is, much better than his hooded sweater. Just as Bainuan was about to speak, a voice suddenly came from his head. Countdown to the disappearance of the novice halo, 10, 9, 8, 7. Bainuan? Bainuan couldn't take care of the hooded man, and quickly asked Number 3, how come the rookie halo is gone? Number 3 calmly answered, the task of finding the male lead is completed, of course the novice halo is gone. The latest Dan Mei novel ranking, www.mtlnovel.com looking for a male lead task to complete. Bainuan stared at the hooded man in front of him. Could it be that the little poor boy who was pressed by the zombies on the ground is the male lead? Number 3 calmly answered, reject spoilers. Bainuan. The countdown in my head is still counting slowly. 4, 3, 2, 1, ding. At the end of the countdown, the beautiful and precious little circles of the novice halo disappeared. Another wave of horse racing zombies was rushing toward this side along the pavement. Without the novice halo body protection, Bainuan immediately stunned, and ran away, without hesitation, getting into the medical equipment store just now. When you enter the store, you will find the latch and insert the glass door immediately, and hide it behind a row of shelves. This store is absolutely safe. Bainuan has just been strolling in it for a long time and is 100% sure that there will be no third zombie in the store. The hooded man followed Bainuan into the store long ago and hid behind the shelf with her. He took out his cell phone and lowered his voice, not knowing who he was talking to. Well, I was in a medical equipment store with a... He glanced at Bainuan's big helmet with a smile in his eyes, with a small robot. I will send you a location. Bainuan was busy observing the movements of the zombies outside, and a little bit wanted to cry. The original plan was to face the invincible novice halo, swagger out of the city in the raging tide of zombies. The result is nothing but a chapter. After saving such a person who didn't know if it was the male lead, the plan was completely ruined. Thinking of saving people, Bainuan suddenly remembered something. Bainuan called up the Notre Dame value progress bar in the upper right corner of the field of vision. The whole bar was empty, and there was no progress at all. Bainuan was a little puzzled, and consulted number 3 in his mind. Little San, I just saved someone clearly, why didn't the virgin's value rise at all? Number 3 doesn't mind this strange name, a little apologetic in her voice. I forgot to tell you that only when you show your Madonna attribute in front of the male lead, the Madonna value can be increased. I will help you turn on the alert tone, so that the Madonna value will increase, you can know. In other words, the Virgin can only be shown to the male lead? Bainuan looked at the hooded man again. The Notre Dame hasn't moved at all, so this is not the male lead? That who is he? Bainuan simply asked him directly, may I ask your name? Before the words what name were spoken, the glass door made a loud noise. A zombie pounced on the glass door. He stared at the glass and looked inside, his nose squashed. Then there are 2, 3, 4, a group. Each one was lying on the glass with the same kind, and there were flat noses all over the glass door. It can be seen that the human nature that loves to watch the excitement is too strong, even the zombie virus can't suppress it. Bainuan immediately became nervous. It's just a thin piece of glass, nothing can stop it. Bainuan didn't dare to probe out anymore, took out the mobile phone from the bag, turned on the camera, and put the lens out of the shelf quietly to observe the situation outside. Suddenly, there was an ominous commotion in the group of zombies outside the store. The zombies lying on the glass to join in the fun turned their heads. A pure black off-road vehicle rushed directly onto the pavement and made a turn at the entrance of the store. The rear of the vehicle traversed a beautiful arc, wiping the store door to death. One piece was crushed in an instant. Bainuan poked her head out in surprise, completely forgetting to hide. The door opened and a man got out of the car. His posture was calm and graceful, as if the corpse mountain and corpse sea outside did not exist. He just passed by occasionally, wanting to stop and buy something. Bainuan has never seen such an outstanding person. Not only is handsome, but also refined and elegant. His eyes were light, and there was a sharp and coldness between his eyebrows, which matched the snow-white shirt on his body. The shirt was overlaid with an open-buttoned navy blue double-breasted navy short coat. In his hand, he leisurely carried a black steel crossbow glowing with metallic luster. He wears a vintage platinum watch on his wrist, with long fingers and neatly manicured nails, which is inconsistent with this chaotic world. As soon as he got out of the car, another wave of zombies roared toward the supermarket. A large group, flaring their teeth and dancing claws, overwhelmed everything. The man didn't even glance over there, as if he felt a little hot outside the car. He took off his jacket and threw it on the seat of the off-road vehicle, then lifted the crossbow in his hand. There is a magazine under the crossbow, which is fired continuously. Before Bainuan could see clearly, she saw the zombies rushing over as if blocked by a thick wall, and the zombies in the front row froze instantly. In the center of each one's forehead, something like a long nail was nailed. The zombies fell down one row, and then another row, like a stubble of rice harvested. The man shot a box of spikes in a flash and got out of the car. He took out another box and pressed it slowly, as if he was doing daily tasks that couldn't be more natural. If both boxes were not used up, the venue was cleared. Bainuan watched him in a daze with the piles of zombies. Where did this OSS come from? The CBD in front of me, caught a person on the road, let alone never killed anyone, never even a chicken, or even a chicken. These people were suddenly caught in the end times, and asked him to attack people immediately. 10 out of 10 would have psychological barriers. Even if the male protagonist Liu Xingqi is a Bugue-level existence in the book, he has been embarrassed for more than a dozen chapters. But this one, as soon as the zombies broke out, they immediately entered the state and swept the tide of corpses with a steel crossbow. Kill dozens of them in an instant, without any mercy, without blinking. It is a proper antisocial personality. The car is coming, walk around. The hooded man pulled Bainuan up and opened the glass door before the next wave of zombies came. The man carrying the crossbow was idle, but when his eyes fell on Bainuan, he was slightly startled. Probably she was frightened by Bainuan's wonderful dress. He asked the hooded man, "This is what you call the little robot?" The voice was low and cold. "That's right." The hooded man patted Bainuan's head in a motorcycle helmet. "It's cute, turn back and be your wife." "Bainuan." The hooded man's eyes curled, and he quickly clarified, "Just kidding, brothers are not bad guys." After the three people got in the car, the man started the car and dashed towards the west of the city. The car drove cleanly and unscrupulously, completely indifferent to how many zombies it hits all the way. The virus is still spreading rapidly, and there is chaos on the road. Vehicles broke down constantly, some cars collided, and others caught fire, and thick black smoke covered the road. The infected person climbed out of the car door and twitched the corpse. The zombies that got up rushed to other cars. The zombies stopped the car that did not dare to hit it, and dragged out the people inside to gnaw at it. The black off-road vehicle is like a beast, resolutely and decisively cutting the waves forward in this chaos. A zombie with short eyes rushed into the off-road vehicle, hit the front windshield fiercely, and then rolled and flew away. "It hurts just looking at it." Bainuan instinctively gave an ouch. A man's wild laugh suddenly appeared in his head. "Wow, ha 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 ha, what the is this?" Bainuan shivered with fright. Hualien in Peking opera is this kind of laughter. Isn't it the sound of the reminder from Xiaosan? You can't normally ding? Bainuan cursed the mistress while calling up the Madonna progress bar. Sure enough, on the originally empty progress bar, there was a little thin green line like a thread. The Notre Dame value has risen unexpectedly. Bainuan is a little puzzled. Isn't the only way to increase the value of the Virgin by showing the Virgin to the hero? The hooded man is asking Bainuan, "Where are you going?" "Out of the city, go to the entrance of S1 Expressway and wait for someone." Bainuan replied absent-mindedly. "S1? That's right." The hooded man patted the back of the driver's seat. "Let's just go to S1 too, right, Lu Xingqi?" "Lu, okay, late?" Bainuan recovered. The name he just called was Lu Xingqi. The male lead of this book is called Lu Xingqi. No wonder the Notre Dame's value will rise. This man carrying a crossbow is actually the male lead? The book says that Lu Xingqi has a deep background and a good background. He had already settled abroad. This time he went back to the city to visit the young Du Ruo, just in time for the zombie outbreak. All skills are full, it is a natural male lead configuration. The book did say that the male lead was indeed, but there were 10,000 male lead in the minds of 10,000 readers, who turned a bunch of words into a big living person. It was normal that Bainuan did not recognize him. The problem is that the male protagonist in the book is slowly growing. What's the matter with Lu Xingqi's aura of being a full-level boss from the beginning? And he didn't go out of the city obediently according to the plot, and ran into the downtown area at this time. Even more strange is that Lu Xingqi in the book doesn't need a crossbow at all. Bainuan was full of doubts, and then turned to look at the hooded man sitting next to him. The hooded man had already taken off the hood of his sweater, smiled, and bent beautiful eyes at Bainuan. Bainuan thought to herself, this should be Du Ruo, a good friend of the hero. The two have known each other since they were young. Sure enough, he stretched out his hand to Bainuan. My name is Du Ruo, what is your name? Bainuan quickly took off the motorcycle helmet and shook hands with him amicably. My name is Bainuan. The word Bainuan was exited, and the off-road vehicle strayed abruptly and almost rushed into the opposite lane. Lu Xingqi's delicate and shallow eyes appeared in the rear-view mirror, and his eyes fell on the small face that Bainuan had just exposed. His casual and leisurely expression was gone, his eyes were sharp and cold, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Lu Xing was wandering, and the car ran into another zombie. Bainuan had an idea, ouch. Sure enough, there was a burst of unbridled laughter. Wow, ha 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 ha, the Notre Dame value has risen again. Ouch, casually, it's so easy to get the value of Our Lady, Don't do it for nothing. The zombies rushed up one by one, Bainuan happily kept, listening to the male voice in his head with joy like a platoon of Zhongfei. Do you have a toothache? Du Ruo said with concern. Well, kind of. Bainuan was even happier. In a blink of an eye, she was almost at the entrance of the S1 high-speed, and Bainuan quickly wondered how to continue following them. Du Ruo was also looking out the window. Bainuan, you said you want to wait for someone here, are they here? Only one car whizzed past, the small window glass of the toll booth was broken, the toll collector was gone, and the others were not even half-person. Bainuan also pretended to take a look, frowned, and his face was full of sorrow. They didn't come. When they were in such a mess, they probably left me and left. What should I do? It's okay, Du Ruo put on the set immediately. Where are you going? Maybe we can take you along the way. Bainuan replied smoothly, I want to go to Ningcheng. Before he finished speaking, the off-road vehicle made a sharp turn and braked, and pulled over to a stop. Get off! Lu Xing said coldly. Bainuan was startled. All Tanmei novels, www.mtlnovel.com. In such a mess, throwing a girl casually on the side of the road is completely different from the responsible style of the hero in the book. Before Bainuan spoke, Du Ruo objected first. Lu Xingqi, if you let her get off here, doesn't it mean that she is sent to death? Lu Xing ignored him and said again. Get off. The voice is still so nice, but it's a pity that it's freezing to death. Bainuan's mind spun around. It's just over an hour's journey to Ningcheng, can't it? In any case, I will talk to Ningcheng first. A layer of frost formed on Lu Xing's face, and he was completely unmoved. You must follow the male lead in order to be promoted to the Virgin. The hero is cold-blooded and ruthless, soft and useless. Bainuan made up his mind to release affordable bait. It's definitely good for you to bring me. In fact, I have a special ability. In this chaotic time, I promise to be of great help. Lu Xingqi glanced at her, without even asking what special ability it was. He jumped out of the car neatly, walked around to Bainuan, and opened the car door. Do you want to get down by yourself, or do you want me to pull you down? Bainuan flattened her mouth and tried to make the most pitiful expression. However, Lu Xingqi's iron-hearted heart, as if he hadn't seen it, really stretched out his hand to grab Bainuan's arm. Bainuan avoided his hand. Well, I'll do it myself. There is no room for transfer at all. Bainuan carried his helmet and got out of the car aggrieved. Lu Xingqi didn't say a word, closed the rear door, jumped into the driver's seat, and started the off-road vehicle. The off-road vehicle was back on the road, and Du Ruo sat in the back seat, looking out the window uncharacteristically without making a sound. Lu Xingqi knew it well. Du Ruo didn't agree with his approach at all. There are zombies outside, and if you throw her down at this time, she will definitely die. Lu Xingqi glanced at the rear-view mirror. She stood on the side of the road for a while, then walked slowly along the road. The person is small, but wears a big jacket. He held the helmet in his hand, showing a pretty face. His eyes were ignorant, his long hair was braced by the cervical spine therapy device on his neck, it was a bit frizzy, and magazines were tied to his arms and legs. It looks silly. Behind her is the city of S, which is rapidly falling, and it matches her wonderful shape very well. The city was full of black smoke, soaring into the sky, obscuring the sky, and the sound of police sirens and car horns sounded from afar. Du Ruo was right, she looked it's really like a little robot abandoned in the last days. Lu Xingqi tried his best to clear out the little soft-heartedness that emerged. Lu Xingqi was born again. Rebirth once, he knew very well that it was this looking weak and small Bainuan who eventually killed everyone in the team. At that time, Bainuan was timid, weak, and seldom talked. He always avoided everyone in his eyes, and had almost no sense of existence. Liu Xingqi's mind at the time was all about how to deal with the sudden apocalypse, and he didn't pay much attention to this Bai Nuan. He knows that she is not bad, she will feel ill-tempered, often generous with others, and sometimes drag the team behind. Liu Xingqi only regarded her as part of his responsibilities, just like the others in the team, he must make them full and take them to escape. However, she never expected that she would make a decision without authorization in the end, in order to save others, ruining the lives of the entire team. From the first moment of this rebirth, Liu Xingqi had no plans to put this Bai Nuan into the team. Unable to imagine the wrong situation, unexpectedly met her again. Liu Xing glanced at the rear-view mirror again. She looks different from before. Liu Xingqi couldn't tell exactly what changed. Maybe it's the expression, the tone, the slyness that shows through the eyes when pretending to be pitiful, or the pragmatic and ridiculous dress. It's almost like a different person. Du Ruo, who had been silent for a long time in the back seat, suddenly said, "How long do you think that little girl can last among the zombies?" After a while, he said, "Well, it's better to let the zombies eat it. In fact, living people are much scarier than zombies." The cruelty of the last days, Liu Xing, who has experienced it once, knows better than anyone else. When civilization collapses, girls like her are like lambs thrown into wolves, torn to pieces anytime and anywhere. Liu Xing was very cruel, stopped looking at the rear mirror, stepped on the accelerator, and drove towards the S1 high-speed entrance. Bai Nuan is summoning the mistress in his mind. What should I do now? The male protagonist unexpectedly drove me off and drove away? How can I increase the value of Notre Dame after he ran away? Xiao San seemed to ponder. I think you can only chase forward, the hero will follow the plot, you move faster, maybe you can keep up. Bai Nuan knew that, according to the original book, after the male lead team left the rapidly occupied City S, the next goal was Ningcheng, not too far from City S, and met another member of the team there. Bai Nuan sighed and waved to the car that was speeding by on the road. A van originally drove past, but suddenly pulled over to a stop. Body paint with colorful auto repair advertisements, two men probed out, "Little girl, do you want to get in the car? Take you for a while." The driver's arm on the window was rolled up with his sleeves, revealing a large black and red floral arm. The co-pilot also put his arm out of the car window, revealing a flowery arm one size smaller. Bai Nuan waved his hand and refused, "I'm sorry to admit the wrong car, don't you need to go?" "No need? Then we are really gone." The flowers-armed men started their cars and drove away. It turned out to be the only car willing to stop. Countless cars whizzed past, and no one cared about Bai Nuan. Another car drove over. It was a bright yellow mini car. It was round and round, like a beetle crawling on the road, not fast. Those who can drive this kind of car don't feel like bad guys. Bai Nuan leaned out half of his body decisively to reach out to stop the car. The driver was afraid of hitting Bai Nuan and was really stopped by her. The driver is a young man in a plaid shirt looking gentle, with a computer bag on the seat next to him. Seeing Bai Nuan's appearance clearly, she blushed first before speaking. "Do you want to take the S1 highway? I want to go to Ningcheng in front." Bai Nuan asked. 2 minutes later, Bai Nuan got on the co-driver of this car smoothly. The man in the plaid shirt who drove was an office worker in City S. As soon as he found something was wrong, he packed his things and escaped immediately. "What are you?" He pointed to the magazine on Bai Nuan's arm, looking shy. "Anti-zombie bite, do you want?" "I still have a few copies in my bag." Bai Nuan asked. The grid man politely refused. Bai Nuan knew he was trying to save face, so he was embarrassed to tie such a strange thing, so he didn't force it. "I have to find a place to add some oil first, the oil is running out." There was a gas station not too far from the entrance of S1 highway. Gridman turned the car and drove over. There should be staff at the gas station to cheer up and collect money. Today, there is not even a half-person figure, and the convenience store behind is quiet. Strange. The gridman parked the car next to the oil gun. You wait here. I'll go to the store to see if anyone is there. When is it? Still looking for someone. Be careful not to find people. Bainuan wanted to let him go quickly. Don't look for it, let's refuel and leave as soon as possible. Gridman was not too embarrassed. If you don't give money, just cheer, isn't that stealing? This is a good person, but unfortunately he still hasn't figured out the current situation. If you feel bad, don't you just put the money in the oil gun? Bainuan made an idea. No. No thing, I have weapons. Gridman said, opened the trunk, took out a wooden stick, and walked to the convenience store. Bainuan smoothly buckled the helmet on his head and watched nervously as he entered the convenience store, ready to run away at any time. He really found someone out. A man in a convenience store uniform. He followed the gridman and apologized as he walked. I'm sorry, there are customers buying things in there. No one from this afternoon shift came, but I am the only one who has to refuel and collect money. I am a little too busy. Gridmail smiled at Bainuan with a look at it expression. The city is in chaos. A group of people bite people everywhere, like zombies. Do you want to hide too? Jinan asked the clerk. The clerk smiled, where are there zombies? This is not a movie. Besides, I'm leaving, what about the store? The two of them walked this way together, and before they took a few steps, a figure suddenly rushed out of the shop behind them. He threw himself on the gridman's back, threw him down, and bit the back of his neck in one bite. Bainuan only realized that he was a middle-aged man with glasses. The legs of the glasses hung crookedly on one ear, and his eyes were red and bloodshot. Bainuan ran away. The book says that this zombie virus is very cunning. Some people mutate as soon as they are infected, but some have an incubation period. It seems that this middle-aged person just caught up with the virus outbreak when he came to cheer. There was a scream of horror behind him. Bainuan glanced back and found that another young man rushed out of the store, readied, and threw down the clerk who was frightened in the same place. Bainuan ran forward desperately, and within a few steps, he heard footsteps behind him. For some unknown reason, the young man ate two clerks and came after Bainuan. The distance between the two was a little far away, and the young man leaped forward and hugged Bainuan's leg. Behind him, Bainuan fell directly to the ground, and the young man held Bainuan's calf and held it on. Ah, bit it. Can't bite. There is such a thick magazine that I can't bite my teeth no matter how good. After the young man became a zombie, he was obviously wise, and he was silly for a moment, and then took another bite. Still can't bite. And the taste is slightly strange. While kicking and kicking, Bainuan tried to break free from him and crawl forward, while using consciousness to find something that could kill him everywhere in the portable space. The cylinder was smashed and dirty last time, and Bainuan didn't put it in the space again. It was quite difficult to find a murder weapon at this moment. I just visited a few stores in the city center under the aura of novices, and most of the food in the space was for food. The murder weapon was not found. Bainuan saw one at a glance: big watermelon. It is estimated that watermelon will not be eaten for a long time in the last days. Bainuan felt distressed, took out the watermelon, and slammed it on the young man's head. The big ripe watermelon was easily opened on his head, and the thin-skinned sand was very sweet. The young man was stunned for a second in the sweet and overflowing watermelon juice. In just a second, she shouted at Bainuan from her throat again. There is something more in his mouth before he can eat it. Bainuan found a cucumber this time and slammed it into his mouth. The cucumber was snapped off by the young man. He chewed twice and threw it up. Cucumbers are not as delicious as Bainuan, so he keeps on working hard and continues to eat Bainuan. Bainuan also made persistent efforts, and finally touched something good this time. What a big durian! His body was thorny, big, and heavy. Bainuan raised this big killer high and was about to smash it down at the young man, when suddenly, there was a sharp swish sound. The young man who was about to speak again suddenly stopped moving. Popular Tanmei novels, www.sto123.cc. There was a long gleaming nail in the center of his forehead. Bainuan turned his head and saw Liu Xingqi standing not far away. He was expressionless, carrying the metallic steel crossbow in his hand. Only then did Bainuan realize that the gas station, which had been in a mess just now, suddenly became extremely quiet. Except for Bainuan, there is no second thing that can move. If you draw a target centered on the center of the eyebrows on everyone's forehead, whether it is penetrated from the back or shot directly from the front, each of Liu Xingqi's spikes will exactly center the 10 rings. Quasi to the monster. Are you injured? Liu Xingqi glanced at Bainuan. Bainuan knew that he asked this not out of concern at all. Once Bainuan was injured, the next spike would definitely come straight to her forehead. Bainuan immediately solemnly promised, "No, absolutely not." Bainuan quickly took off his helmet, loosened the magazine tied on his leg, and pulled up his trousers to reveal the calf that had just been hugged by the zombie. "Do you want to check it?" Bainuan raised his head and asked innocently. The calves and ankles are very slender, white and shiny, obviously unscathed. Liu Xing's cold eyes fell on her curved calf, paused for a second, and then turned back to Bainuan's face. He walked over with a crossbow, squatted down in front of Bainuan, and lowered his voice. "Beauty plan? I think I'm not willing to kill you like this." Bainuan's cautious thoughts were directly pierced by him. After only a moment of embarrassment, he changed to a more innocent expression, and said sincerely, "I just want you to see, I really didn't get hurt." Liu Xingqi gently picked the corner of his mouth and stood up. Du Ruo jumped off the off-road vehicle and also spoke to Bainuan, and said with a smile, "How could she be injured? She was so tightly wrapped." Liu Xing didn't say anything for a while, and turned around to refuel the car. Bainuan sat on the spot, picked up the magazine bitten by the zombies, tore off the dirty pages outside, and retied the rest. He asked Du Ruo smoothly, "Aren't you two in front? Why are you back again?" Du Ruo Huang squatted down next to Bainuan and squeezed an eye towards Bainuan. He said there is a gas station here, and he has to come back and refuel. Bainuan immediately understood what he meant. They all drove forward for a long time, and they had to circle back to refuel the car. "Is there no gas station in the front service area? I just came back specially, not yet recognition." Bainuan immediately raised his head and asked Liu Xingqi, who was cheering on his face hopefully, "Then can you bring me this time?" Liu Xingqi stared at the oil gun without looking at her. For a long time, 2 words came out between his lips, "No. No, no." Fortunately in the misfortune, this time I finally kept up with them. As long as you stay within the male lead's field of vision, your Notre Dame has a chance to rise, right? You are not leaving now? Bainuan asked Du Ruo. "It's going to be a while and I have to fill a few more oil drums. Civilization is rapidly collapsing, and within a few days, gasoline will become an important scarce resource." With Liu Xingqi guarding him, "Don't worry about anything." Bainuan entered the convenience store. According to the timeline in the book, before dark, the first blockade will be built on the periphery of City S. This is the site occupied by zombies immediately. A supermarket supplies, don't waste it. There were no zombies in the store. Bainuan walked around the shelves, and the fingertips of her fingers quickly swept across the shelves. Potato chips, nougat, spicy beef jerky, squid slices and enoki mushroom self-heating small hot pot, everything she stumbled upon disappeared out of thin air wherever her fingers could reach. All entered Bainuan's portable space. The various ice creams in the freezer were also swept away by Bainuan. The upper layer of the portable space has no time to flow. The ice cream will look like when it is put in, and it will be the same when it is taken out. It will not melt at all. Finally, there are various wines on the counter. In the last days, wine can eliminate sorrow and wu can sterilize. It is undoubtedly hard currency. There are many boxes in the small warehouse behind, and they don't know what they are. Bainuan has no time to look carefully, and all of them are put into the space. Lu Xing Chai came in as soon as he finished the scan, and was taken aback when he saw the empty shelves. Bainuan thought, "Excuse me, you are late and all the delicious food is gone. Everything seems to be sold out." Bainuan said. Lu Xing hummed slowly, turned around, and finally walked to the food shelf. The shelves were empty, with only a row of stewed chicken noodles with mushrooms. "Do you want it?" He picked up a bag and asked Bainuan. Bainuan decisively refused. OSS picked up the few packets of Bainuan and leftover mushroom stewed chicken noodles, looking a bit pitiful. When the two came out together, Bainuan reached out and touched the bag. In fact, he took out a pack of disposable tablecloths from the space and walked towards the people lying on the ground. All the spikes on their foreheads were gone, and they were probably taken away by Lu Xing for later use. Bainuan carefully covered them all with a white tablecloth, tucked them, and chanted words one by one. Again. Our Lady's progress has been wow ha 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 several times. Lu Xing lately watched Bainuan deal with the funeral of those people, very speechless. Du Ruo leaned against the door of the car. "Let her get in the car. You have the heart to throw her again? You don't pretend to be less. If you really bear the heart, you will find an exit to go around and drive back." He was right. Lu Xing had eaten a bit late, and he should have gained wisdom. Reason tells Lu Xingqi that she must not bring Bainuan this time, but for some reason, Lu Xingqi can't leave her alone. She drove the car all the way, her mind was all standing blankly on the side of the road with her helmet in her arms. And there is Du Ruo, who occasionally floats in the back seat. Do you think she will fall into the hands of zombies or people? Lu Xingqi, which one do you hold? So in the end, I drove around and drove back. When I came back, when I was still in the opposite lane, I saw her in a yellow car. In the driver's seat is a young man. At this time, she really dared to get on any car without any vigilance at all. The little yellow car left the main road and turned into the gas station. Lu Xing also drove over after a while. As soon as she entered the gas station, she saw her tragically holding up a huge durian, ready to smash people in the head. Lu Xingqi pointed at Bainuan with his chin. "Don't worry about getting her in the car, you see." Bainuan was opening the door of the bright yellow Beetle, and got in to start the car. The car whispered and turned around. Hit the curb with a sound. It was a miracle on earth that she could find something to hit in such a big place and empty. Lu Xing looked at her little yellow car and thought. The person who was in the car with her turned into a zombie in an instant, and was shot through the head. If Bainuan from the previous life had already started to cry. Although Bainuan also covered them with a piece of cloth, he didn't shed a tear, and turned around and took the key and drove away. This absolutely pragmatic style is not at all the style of Bainuan in the past. So a strange scene appeared on the smoky S1 highway in the last days. A sturdy black off-road vehicle drove on the slowest lane, followed by a bright yellow mini car suddenly and dangerously behind it. Lu Xingqi, why do you drive so slowly if you really don't want to take her? Can you just let her come up? Du Ruo leaned on the car window and looked back at Bainuan. The point is, I think if she drives so blindly, she will have to hit our car sooner or later. But... Lu Xingqi glanced at the little yellow car in the rear-view mirror, smiled slightly, and drove the car unhurriedly. Bainuan held the steering wheel and stared attentively at the off-road vehicle in front, sweaty palms. A rookie who took the second exam 5 times as a subject, and has never been on the steering wheel after getting the driver's license. The first time he drove to 80 on the highway, it was too difficult for her. However, these are nothing compared to being sent home by the system and crushed by large trucks. Fortunately, the off-road vehicle doesn't drive fast, and it can barely keep up. Before driving far, Xiao San's pleasant voice came in his mind. Congratulations on successfully completing the novice stage, escaping from the city of S, the voice of the Virgin is on. Bainuan. What is the voice of the Virgin? The voice of Our Lady is a series of small tasks, and there will be extra rewards after completion. It sounds pretty good. What's the small task? Bainuan clutched the steering wheel and talked to Xiao San distractedly. For example, in front of the male lead, hugging a person bitten by a zombie and crying, "Who is going to save him? Can anyone come and help him?" Bainuan was speechless. Is this the Virgin? Is this a brain disease? What is the reward? In the next 24 hours, all the Notre Dame points will be doubled. It is too risky to hold a person who is about to become a zombie in order to double the value of the Virgin for the 24 hours. Bainuan doesn't want to do it. Anything else? The third replied, yes, in front of the male protagonist, it is reasonable to say the phrase "he is still a child" twice. The reward is double the value of the Virgin within 5 hours. Bainuan thought, this is okay, it's much easier. I was wondering, the tail lights of the off-road vehicle in front suddenly turned on and suddenly slowed down. Bainuan hurriedly stepped on the brakes, but stepped on the accelerator. The car sprinted forward, and it was about to hit the tail of the off-road vehicle. Lu Xingchai seemed to have expected it earlier, and the off-road vehicle swiftly leaned aside to make room for Bainuan to brake. Bainuan quickly stopped the car and broke out in a cold sweat. It turned out that a dozen cars were hit in a series in front. Countless big cars and small cars are stuck together. In this chaos, every car is desperately drilling forward, and it can't tell the lane, and it's messed up. Bainuan got out of the car with Lu Xingqi and Du Ruo and looked forward. In the book, there was indeed a series of car accidents that blocked the highway from S City to Ningcheng, but the male lead and his party left S City and arrived at Ningcheng smoothly. The accident should have happened behind them. Bainuan's woe after a bit of grinding, he understood. Lu Xing turned the car back and refueled. It was later than the time in the original book, so he encountered a big traffic jam. There seems to be no hope of passing. Lu Xingqi looked at the chaotic traffic array in front of him. Get off the highway and detour. There is a high-speed exit next to it. Du Ruo agreed, and was about to get in the car, but was suddenly pulled by Bainuan. Do not move. Hold your feet and don't fall. Yes, that's it, hold on. Du Ruo was so frightened by her that she dared not move, looking at Bainuan inexplicably. Bainuan squatted down and pinched out a round, pretty and cute little red ladybug under Du Ruo's feet, and placed it in the palm of his hand. Don't step on it, it's still a child. Du Ruo. Lu Xingqi. Voice of the Virgin Child Mission. Bainuan held the little insect, carefully sent it to the side of the road, and blew it away in one breath. Baby insect, go home and find mother. Lu Xing's cold and peaceful voice came from behind. That's an adult ladybug, not a baby. The ladybug is abnormally developed. When I was a child, it looked very ugly, like a caterpillar. I don't think you want to hold it with your hands. Bainuan, Back on the off-road vehicle, Du Ruo pondered, this little girl is weird, isn't it because she suddenly saw a zombie and was so irritated, she was frightened. Lu Xing started the car late, carelessly, it's very possible. Popular Tanmei novel, www.sto123.cc. After getting off the highway, it is the provincial road. It is actually under construction. Halfway through the excavation, the road is full of big pits and it is hard to get through. The off-road vehicle took a small yellow car around to a village. If you want to go further, you have to pass through the middle of the village. Obviously more than one person has this idea. The road into the village is a clearing, full of dang parked dozens of cars, all coming off the highway. The cars stopped, and a large group of people was blocked under the big tree at the entrance of the village. Bainuan saw an acquaintance at a glance. The big brother with tattoos on the arms of the auto repair shop van was also there, and his little brother was standing next to him. They also saw Bainuan and greeted enthusiastically. Bainuan went to inquire with them. It turned out that the village roads here were funded and repaired by the villagers, and tolls were collected. There are so many cars to pass, so it's reasonable to charge 5 or 10 tolls for fear of crushing the village roads, said Hwabi, but they now say that they will charge 300 for one car. The driver corrected him, it was 300 just now, but it has risen to 500 by now. Sitting on the ground and raising the price, this is taking advantage of the fire. Ants and ants in the village stood in groups by the side of the road, eating melon seeds while watching the excitement. They grinned, hurrying by now, 500, maybe it will be 5,000 in a while. They were right. There were cars coming and going up and down at high speeds, and they had no way to go around here, parking the empty space full. Brother Hwai couldn't help but persuade them, the city is in chaos and many people have been infected. You are still collecting money here, why don't you run away? You name the flowers, and we won't let you pass them in vain. The ants burst into laughter. Bainuan thought, it's definitely not a good thing for so many people to gather together. It's better to go there quickly. If the car in front doesn't go, Bainuan and the others can't go either. Several people crossed the chaotically parked car and came to the village entrance. They saw that the villagers stopped at the intersection and a group of people were collecting money. Many people don't have 500 cash on them, so they can only transfer money, and the speed of release is particularly slow. A couple was transferring money, and it took a long time to transfer money. Bainuan knew that the zombie virus was infiltrating every corner of S City, S City was collapsing, and some banks were no longer operating. That the couple is too anxious. We are in a hurry to come out. We only have more than 300 yuan in cash. Can you provide accommodations? A man with the appearance of a villager blocked in front of the car, copied his hand, and pointed his chin at a silver BMW that had just passed by. Look at the big boss, he doesn't blink when he pays $500. You can't afford to stay by the side and let the cars behind you pass by. Next to him stood a 15 or 16-year-old half-year-old boy in the same posture as his father. The boy also copied his hands, like a copy of the smaller one, stay by the side. Let the back pass. You can help. The woman was still pleading. The villager stretched out a hand and pushed the woman aside, go go. The boy also reached out and pushed them, go go. How do you beat people? When the husband saw his wife staggered by them, his eyes were red, but there were so many villagers blocking the road that he did not dare to do anything with them. This is an opportunity for the rising of the Virgin that has fallen from the sky. Can't let it go. There was a wallet in Bainuan's backpack with cash inside, and Bainuan immediately touched it outside. As soon as he took out his wallet, the eldest brother Hwai who followed had taken out 200 yuan bills first, and slapped them into the man's hand with a vicious tone. What do you do? I'll help them out these $200. Let people pass by, hurry up. Bainuan was silent. He directly grabbed Bainuan's lines. Bainuan found out 500 yuan, and whispered to discuss with Big Brother Hwai, Big Brother, you can help out with their money. If there are others who don't have enough money, can I pay for it? The attitude is sincere, as if the two hawkers who set up stalls are graciously fighting for business. Brother Flower Arm. How much does your road cost? Lu Xing's cold voice came from behind him. He was the protagonist, and the man who blocked the road didn't dare to ignore him. He hesitated and replied, that's a lot of money. It took a lot. 10, 20, more than 300,000. A cement road several hundred meters long, all right. Lu Xing said coldly, I'll pay 400,000 yuan and buy this road. Bainuan understood what he meant. Money is not a problem for him at all. The cars are jammed at the entrance of the village. The cars in front must be allowed to pass quickly, so that the late off-road vehicles can drive past as soon as possible. Bainuan regrets that he has not squandered 400,000. It's fine if there is, how much madam value it has to rise. When the man heard Liu Xingqi's words, he was silly for a long time before he said, "You mean it?" "Well, 400,000 is not enough, at least." Before the words were finished, there was a loud noise in the village. The silver BMW that didn't drive far suddenly hit a brick wall of a house, knocking the wall halfway down. A few seconds later, the car door opened in the red brick debris, and a person climbed out of the driver's seat. He is a middle-aged man. With blood-red eyes, he stood up crookedly, clenched his hands into fists and raised them in front of him, making a gesture of turning the steering wheel. "Du-du-du, diddy." Bainuan took a look, turned around and ran away. This is a mutation. Everyone who ran out of S city knew how powerful they were, and they ran away in no time. The villagers blocking the road are still standing there in ignorance. "What are you running? Why are you all running? Don't want to go there anymore." After a while, Bainuan heard a scream of screams. Bainuan went straight to the off-road vehicle without looking back. Liu Xingqi would definitely come back to fetch the crossbow first. It is safest to be with him, much safer than hiding in the fields and woods next to him. Sure enough, Liu Xing followed her over and saw her head straight to the off-road vehicle, smiled slightly, opened the door and took out the steel crossbow. But for a while, all the villagers who were still stuck at the entrance of the village just turned into zombies. Bainuan saw the man blocking the road and his son at a glance. The man became a zombie, still holding a lot of banknotes firmly in his hand, roared and rushed over, as if he was dumbly saying, "Pay the money! Pay the money!" The teenage boy also turned into a zombie, still acting exactly like his dad. Liu Xingqi raised the crossbow and fired steadily, and a piece of it fell instantly. The infection continues. The virus has spread rapidly to the entire village, and there are too many people. "Withdraw," Liu Xingqi said to Du Ruo. However, the off-road vehicles and the small yellow cars were stuck in a large number of cars and couldn't drive out. There is no alternative but to abandon the car and walk on foot. Liu Xing picked up the bag and walked 2 steps later, and found that Bainuan hadn't followed, and asked her back, "Are you still going?" OSS didn't even drop Bainuan this time. Bainuan was very moved, and hurriedly carried her bag. "Let's go." Liu Xingqi blocked another wave of shock. The zombies couldn't get through, and people seized the opportunity to escape. There was chaos, and everyone's attention was on the zombies that rushed over. Bainuan took the opportunity to sneak back to the off-road vehicle for a round, and then bypassed the various cars parked randomly and overtook them. With Liu Xing late, no person can get close. Backing to the side of the road, Bainuan saw a little yellow dog tied to the telephone pole at a glance. "I don't know who raised it, but amidst the screams, I was frightened." Weeping, staring at a pair of dark eyes, desperately trying to break the rope. The rope was tied too tightly, and it collapsed into a straight line, strangling the neck, and still couldn't get rid of it. Bainuan hurried over to help him untie the rope. "Run! If you don't run, you will soon become a ration for zombies." As soon as the rope was untied, the puppy swished into the grass on the side of the road and disappeared like an arrow shot out. There was a wah-ha-ha-ha in Bainuan's ear, and the virgin's value rose again. Liu Xingqi was a bit speechless. At this time, "Are you still responsible for saving the dog? What's wrong? Can't it?" Bainuan said to him, "It's still a child." Bainuan seriously emphasized to him, "I will never make a mistake this time. It is really a little milk dog, baby dog." Liu Xingqi. Bainuan called up the task bar, which showed, "The child task of the voice of the Virgin is completed," and there is a small white halo on the upper right of the field of vision that is counting down 5 hours. Success! The 3 of them fought and retreated, and when they retreated into the field outside the village that had not yet begun to cultivate, there were no zombies to follow. Going around the village and climbing up the main road from the roadbed again, this section of the village went smoothly, but unfortunately there was no car. How do we get to Ningcheng without a car? Du Ruo asked. Lu Xing replied late, at this time, there should be an unowned car on the road. Let's walk along the road and find a way to find one. Bainuan cleared his throat. Lu Xingqi, I actually have a way. Lu Xingqi and Du Ruo both looked at her. Du Ruo smiled, little robot, what can you do to build one on site? Bainuan blinked, close your eyes, don't peek. I'll count to 3, and you will open it again. 1 2 3. A black off-road vehicle stopped in front of the 3 people gracefully. All Tanmei novels, www.mtlnovel.com. Du Ruo's expression instantly solidified. It took a long time to get over. He took a breath and asked, Bainuan, what's your name? A big change to a living car. He circled the off-road vehicle, looked at the license plate, and opened the trunk easily. It was full of supplies, all materials that couldn't be taken away just now. This is our car. How did you change it, little robot? Bainuan said quietly, I told you a long time ago that I have a special ability. It is definitely good for you to take me. When retreating just now, while others were not paying attention, Bainuan ordered 2 cars and put them in the space. The portable space is so large that it is almost empty, let alone 2 cars, it is no problem to use it as a parking lot. Lu Xingtai was not too surprised. He glanced at his off-road vehicle and asked Bainuan a question. Where is your car? Bainuan said nothing. It's horrible to drive by yourself. Knowing that she only puts on off-road vehicles and made it clear that she intends to ride on it, Lu Xing calmly asked, where are you going? Ningcheng. Actually, my home is in S City, Bainuan whispered, I don't have any relatives out of town, and I have nowhere to go now. She had her hands behind her back, her head half down, but her eyes were secretly aiming upward and landing. The face mask of the big round helmet was opened, revealing the long eyelashes flashing inside, half covering a pair of shiny eyes, looking pitiful, like a little homeless animal. With such a pure and innocent face, the effect is more than doubled. Those who can't be soft-hearted are hard-hearted. Du Ruo is definitely not hard-hearted, and immediately stated, you have nowhere to go, why don't you go with us? Lu Xingqi was definitely hard-hearted. He glanced at Du Ruo, and suddenly stretched out his hand to grab Bainuo's arm and led her away from Du Ruo before letting go. Lu Xingqi leaned over and approached Bainuan, lowering his voice, Bainuan, don't come to this suit with me, I know you are pretending. Bainuan was determined not to collapse, and blinked at him with a more innocent expression. He is invulnerable and very difficult to deal with. Would you like to cry? Do you want it? Is it better to drop 2 beans or to cry out? Bainuan was a little undecided. Lu Xingqi suddenly said, but you did me a favor, I can take you for a while, find a safe place in front, and then let you get off. Really? Lu Xing paused, it's mainly because of the wilderness here. You are not very good at taking a ride. Moreover, if Du Ruo eats your set and leaves you behind, he will keep nagging in my ears forever. Lu Xing's conversation turned slowly, however, I have conditions. It would be nice to be able to negotiate terms. Bainuan immediately forgot to pretend to be pitiful and exhilarated. What are the terms? Lu Xingqi stared at her, never letting go of the expression on her face. Before you find a place to put you down, let's make 3 chapters. First, follow my instructions and don't allow yourself to make decisions about anything. Second, hide things that you have special abilities. Don't let others know about them. Bainuan asked, what about the third? Leave it temporarily, and I'll tell you when I think about it. Lu Xingqi said, if you violate any of these items, get off the car directly. Bainuan agreed, and Lu Xing turned around and walked towards the off-road vehicle. Lu Xingqi. Bainuan stopped him. Lu Xing turned around and listened to what she had to say. Bainuan said to him solemnly, "Take me, you won't regret it." Lu Xingqi picked up the corner of his mouth slightly, "Then I will, wait and see." At the end of the negotiation, the two returned to the off-road vehicle. Bainuan quietly said to Du Ruobi. Du Ruo smiled back and gave a thumbs up. Bainuan took the familiar back seat. The back seat after being away for dozens of minutes feels particularly comfortable. Until now, everyone hasn't eaten anything. Lu Xing took out a few bottles of mineral water from the trunk, and then took out a bag of compressed biscuits, returned to the car, and gave them to Bainuan and Du Ruo. Du Ruo seemed to be hungry, and quickly smashed several biscuits, still not enough. Lu Xingqi also ate quickly. Compressed biscuits are a baby in the last days. They have high energy and small size and are easy to carry, but Bainuan can't swallow it. This thing was dry and greasy, like a sweet brick soaked in oil. Bainuan took a few bites and then put it down, reached into the backpack, pretended to touch it, and took out a bag of charcoal grilled sausages from the space. Bainuan pursed her lips. After getting on the off-road vehicle, the person is a little floating, and a little bit can't bear to provoke the heart of OSS. Lu Xing late. Bainuan knocked on the back of the front seat. "What's up? Can I eat a pack of charcoal grilled sausages?" "You just said, no what don ti make your own decisions." The three words anything bite particularly hard. Lu Xing turned his head silently, his beautiful eyes narrowed. Staring at Bainuan with a look provocatively gaze. Bainuan looked back at him innocently and threw a small char-grilled sausage into his mouth. "Q is salty, not greasy at all." Then he raised one to Lu Xingqi's mouth and asked in a more innocent tone, "Would you like to have one?" "I don't need it." Lu Xingqi refused as expected. Benim held it more firmly than he did. The two people competed equally stalemate. Lu Xing was too late to hold her back, and finally compromised. He turned his head and ate with her hands. Bainuan curled the corner of her mouth and handed the bag to Du Ruo. Du Ruo ate one, and turned sideways to ask Bainuan in a vague voice, "Bainuan, so what is your special ability? Is it moving objects in the air?" Du Ruo looked back at the village not far away and estimated, "How far can it be moved? 500 meters? 1 kilometer?" He was completely thinking in the wrong direction. "This is a secret." Bainuan refused to say, and sent the bag of small sausages to him. "You will take revenge." Du Ruo didn't answer, and suddenly stretched out his hand, spreading his 5 fingers, staring at the small sausage. "What are you doing?" Bainuan was inexplicable. "Making gong." Du Ruo replied, "It's the end of the world. I tried hard to practice, and even if I was not sure, I could have the ability to move objects in the air." After eating the small sausages, Bainuan took out a bag of small fish and handed it to Du Ruo first. Du Ruo looked at Bainuan's deflated backpack in surprise. "What kind of treasure do you have in it?" "They are all delicious." "This is nothing, Bainuan actually wants to dig out a big jar of ice cream." Bainuan took out a small fish and held it to Lu Xingqi's mouth. Du Ruo quit, chewing in his mouth and protesting vaguely, "Why do you keep feeding him? He is so cold-blooded and you still feed him? Why don't you feed me? You see that he is busy oiling the crossbow and has no hands." Bainuan explained, still holding the baby fish. Lu Xingqi didn't refuse this time. He tilted his head silently and took it away from her cleanly. After eating and drinking, Bainuan sat all right, and consulted with Xiao San in his head. "Little San, I haven't figured out what exactly can I do to increase the value of Notre Dame. How do you set your standard?" "I don't set the standard, I'm just a procedure." Xiao San explained seriously. "I always go to your human network to crawl all the information about the Virgin. Climb? How to climb? Bainuan was curious. That is, if something happens and someone commented on Madonna, good mother, I will enter it into the database. If more than a certain number of repetitions are exceeded, the similar behavior will be labeled as the Virgin. Bainuan was a bit speechless. This is too unreliable. So you don't understand the difference between the Virgin and the bitch? Bainuan asked. Little San was silent for a while. Bainuan continued to attack him. The Virgin Mary, everyone's thoughts are too different. You know that the Buddha cut meat and feed eagles. Bainuan gave the junior 3 popular science. Someone who cuts his own meat and feeds the birds is called Our Lady, some people who cut other people's meat and feeds the birds are called Our Lady, and some people take all the birds away from his child, and they are ready to take one. He who continues to feed the birds is called Our Lady. There are other people who are perverts who abuse birds every day and call all the normal people who are not pleasing to the eyes of our mothers. You will all be included in your database indiscriminately. Xiao San was a little confused. Is it so complicated? Do I need to refine the standard? No need. It's fine now. Bainuan said quickly. Xiao San's definition of Mother of God is a big mess. Whether it is the true Virgin or the false Virgin, the commendatory Virgin is all gurgling and bubbling together. What to refine? The fool asked him to refine it. Just be so confused. The larger the scope of the definition, the more chances of increasing the value of Notre Dame. This account is very clear. When Bainuan was chatting with Xiao San, Lu Xing got out of the car and walked to the back, opened the trunk, and pretended to be looking for something. While the 2 people in front were not paying attention, he turned his head and glanced across the village not far away. Almost instantly, dozens of spikes rose into the sky over the village. Like the formation of small soldiers, the spikes gathered together and shot straight towards the off-road vehicle, so fast that it was almost invisible. Lu Xingqi's slender fingers flicked lightly, and the magazine cover in his hand snapped open. Dozens of long nails flew over the off-road vehicle like eyes. They swept in the air and made a bend. With a burst of clear and light sound, they fell into the bullet quickly and steadily one by one. In the box. This is the spike just used to kill zombies. Lu Xingqi recovered the spikes and closed the lid. Lu Xingqi also has special abilities. The last time the team was destroyed by the regiment, Lu Xingqi had a voice claiming to be a system in his mind. The voice not only gave him a chance to rebirth, but also asked him to randomly select a kind of ability. Popular Tanmei novels, www.sto123.cc. What Lu Xing got late was to control the metal. It is not a problem to change the shape of the metal and control the trajectory of the flight at will. That crossbow was the first thing Lu Xingqi made after he had the ability. The metal that Lu Xingqi can control right now is not too big, but it is no longer a problem to let the spikes shot by the crossbow hit 100 shots. The system said that his ability will become stronger day by day under the stimulation. The system also said at the time that the only condition for rebirth was to walk again along the line of the previous life. Even if the system does not require this, Lu Xingqi intends to go the same way again. Bring those people in the team together again and let them live well again. This time, Lu Xingqi was determined not to make the same mistake again. Lu Xing closed the trunk late and glanced at Bainuan's helmeted head. The roundness is too big to stop even the back seat. But let her get in the car. She also has special abilities. Could it be that she was born again? Lu Xingqi didn't feel like it. She looked like she didn't know him at all at first, and her personality changed drastically, as if she had changed her personality. When you see a zombie, you run away without saying a word, faster than a rabbit. At every turn, he put on a pitiful cry at any time, but from morning to now, I saw so many people turn into zombies, but in fact I didn't shed a single tear. Take her for the time being, and put her down when you find a safe place ahead, Lu Xingqi told himself. After being back on the road, there were obviously fewer cars on the road because the high speed behind was blocked. The off-road vehicle galloped forward in the warm spring sunshine, and Lu Xing drove much later than before. After finishing eating, Bainuan leaned on the seat to doze asleep. In fact, she was tidying up her portable space. I was too anxious in the morning, and everything I put in the space was all piled up in a mess. Now arrange the snacks together, the rice, noodles, vegetables and fruits together, and the daily necessities together. All the weapons that can open the human skull are placed in the most conspicuous place in the middle. Neat and clean. Ningcheng is a 1,000-year-old city, small and exquisite, with a lot of scenic spots, not far from City S, and it takes just over an hour to drive there. Not far from the highway, I saw the checkpoint. Elimination of zombie virus outbreak in S City. The information reached Ningcheng as soon as possible. Ningcheng sealed all the main roads into the city, pitched tents, and set up temporary checkpoints. The current standard is that any wounds on the body are forbidden to enter the city. 3 people passed the level smoothly. There are warning signs in front of the checkpoints, pulling the yellow cordon, and there are rows of concrete piers across the road, and armed personnel with guns are patrolling back and forth. Bainuan and Lu Xingqi exchanged glances. The thoughts in their hearts were the same. Can this thing be called a line of defense? Is the yellow belt pulled for the end of the zombie group to sprint to the collision line? Those rows of concrete piers are probably for the zombies to practice hurdles. In the original book, a series of car accidents on the S1 highway blocked the only way from S City to Ningcheng, and bought precious hours for the people of Ningcheng to evacuate. The team relied on these few hours to supply supplies in Ningcheng, which was still operating normally. Although Ningcheng had no zombies, he was panicked. Cars lined up on the road, and many people dragged their families to prepare to evacuate, and the intersection was heavily blocked. Everyone was very irritable, and the car horns rang. Everyone was eager to withdraw cash. There was no one before it. It should have been empty a long time ago. The bank on the roadside was overcrowded. The line had been lined up outside and turned several turns. Lu Xing drove the car directly to the parking lot of a large supermarket. The supermarket is very large, with several floors above and below, and the variety of goods is quite complete. Bainuan is a bit painful. There is not much cash in the purse that comes in my backpack, so I can't buy anything at all. I can only plan carefully and choose the most urgently needed items to buy. In fact, Bainuan can put anything into the space without knowing it with a little finger. But Ningcheng is still normal now, except that everyone in the supermarket looks a little more dignified. There is almost no difference in normal times. Bainuan really couldn't do anything. Bainuan was struggling when he heard Lu Xingqi's command. Everyone went shopping separately and gathered in the parking lot 2 hours later. Bainuan turned around and ran, but the backpack on his back was grabbed from behind, and brought back with the bag. Lu Xingqi drew a card from his wallet and handed it to her. You can use this. Buy food and our daily necessities. You are a girl, careful, and you won't miss important things. Lu Xing said lightly, swipe it as you can and buy it as much as possible. In a few days, this card will be a plastic sheet. Bainuan immediately felt like being raised by the boss. He is very predictable and is absolutely correct. A few days later the network is paralyzed, and the connection between the branches of the bank is cut off, and the money in the account will become a string of meaningless numbers, which cannot be taken out at all. Bainuan collected the card, pushed a cart and started making crazy purchases. Some shelves in the supermarket are already empty, and most people are rushing to buy foods that can be stored for a long time, such as rice noodles, oil and salt, milk powder, canned food, biscuits, instant noodles and so on. Bainuan is different. Just put things on the upper level of the space where there is no time to flow, and there is no need to worry about preservation and expiration. All kinds of fresh vegetables, fruits, seafood, meat, custard, and milk are all put in the cart. There are also pots and pans, bedding pillows, even towels, toothbrushes, rolls of paper and various personal hygiene products, which pile the carts full. And don't worry about how much money you spent, it's really cool. Bainuan kept running in and out, and every time he checked out, he would find a corner where no one was left, put the purchased things into the space, and then rushed in again to make a big purchase. Bainuan happily pushed the cart and scurried around in this supermarket where everyone was worried, and he was out of step with everyone. When the end of the world is coming, others are anxious, lest they lose this and that. Bainuan is different. Bainuan should have been crushed into pie by a large truck, but suddenly fell from the sky, making this apocalyptic journey out of thin air. Regardless of whether the task is completed or not, as a dead person, every extra minute is earned. Bainuan had thought about it a long time ago. He wanted to treat the zombies as Hawaii and enjoy every day of his life. Bainuan filled a car full again, and was tiptoeing to remove the large battery at the top, when suddenly he saw something wrong with his peripheral light. Someone fell beside him. He was a man in his 40s, slowly leaning on the shelf to sit on the ground, and there was a gasp after another in his throat. The voice was so painful that it seemed to be dying. No way! Did that unreliable system advance the time again? Zombies appeared in Ningcheng now? The man curled up, gasping hard. Many people around also noticed the strangeness, all of them were hiding behind, and suddenly a large empty space was suddenly vacated in front of the shelves that were full of people just now. This is Ningcheng. No one has seen zombie mutations yet, and they all stood in a circle from a distance to watch. Bainuan was a bit speechless. If this is normal, shouldn't you call an ambulance? If this is a zombie, shouldn't it run quickly? What's the matter with everyone watching the excitement? When Bainuan was about to run, he saw Liu Xingqi at a glance. He was walking towards this side, squeezing through the crowd of onlookers, and his eyes fell on the sitting man. Bainuan saw it at a glance. When he squeezed in, he held a knife in his hand very reliably, and the shimmering blade was close to the back of his forearm. According to the setting in the book, Luoss has a weapon in his hand, let alone singled out a zombie, plus 2 more, there is no problem at all. Bainuan's heart suddenly dropped. Then came a very bold idea. Bainuan lunged at the man. Raising the man's slanted head, Bainuan asked for help and looked at the crowd of onlookers. Who will save him? Can anyone come and help him? She supported the man. The small face on the cervical spine treatment device was pure and innocent, and her clear eyes were eager to weep, like an angel falling into the world. Pure eyes swept over everyone onlookers silently. This is a scourge of humanity, an accusation of indifference. The onlookers fell into deep self-blame. Liu Xingqi who squeezed in to prepare to kill. The process from falling to the mutation of the man took a long time, longer than everyone I have seen today, and I felt that it was too late to say the line of the mission of the voice of the Virgin. Bainuan's lines were read word by word. After finishing work, Bainuan dropped the man and planned to retreat. Suddenly, a strange thing was discovered. On the taskbar on the left, the Save Him task of the voice of the Virgin is still. Okay? Didn't finish it? Bainuan was stunned, and suddenly felt that someone poked her in the arm. The latest Dan Mei novel ranking, www.sto123.cc. It was the man. He was still gasping again and again, trying to make a little hoarse noise from his throat. Hand machine, every word seemed to be squeezed from a narrow gap in the throat, and it was difficult to say. He wants to borrow a cell phone? Bainuan quickly took out his mobile phone and stuffed it into his hand. He dialed a number laboriously, facing the mobile phone. He couldn't even speak, and finally squeezed out 2 words, Batarika. Bainuan glanced at the shelves behind him, and suddenly realized what he wanted to say. Bainuan said to the phone to help him, he is on the battery shelf. A few minutes later, a woman rushed over and took out a tube of asthma spray from her bag. The man squirted a few tremblingly, his breathing gradually eased, and it was much smoother. Wow, ha ha ha, laughter rang in my ears, and the Virgin's value rose again. The woman pulled Bainuan and kept thanking her. It turned out that the couple heard the news of the virus outbreak in City S. They were planning to go out of the city and rush to the supermarket to purchase. They separated. By accident, his mobile phone and medicine were all in her bag. The man was not infected with the zombie virus at all, no wonder the task was not completed. In any case, the Notre Dame value was successfully raised. When the alarm was lifted, Lu Xing silently gestured to Bainuan to gather at the door, then turned and left. When Bainuan settled the bill and walked to the door with large bags and small bags, he found that Lu Xing was late in the car, the back seats were piled up so that the seats were invisible, and the parking lot was full of things on the floor. Various tools that Bainuan did not recognize, as well as large buckets of purified water and batteries, etc., did not know where Lu Xingqi bought them. Du Ruo hasn't returned yet. Lu Xingqi jumped out of the car, checked the things Bainuan had bought, picked out some and put them in the trunk, and pointed to the remaining bags. Take the rest into your portable space, he said in a leisurely tone. Bainuan, he said. Portable space? Luoss, do you want to guess so accurately? Lu Xingqi observed Bainuan's expression and curled the corner of his mouth imperceptibly. I have known that your ability is a portable space. When I was at the gas station, I saw you conjure durian out of thin air and hit someone on the head. Also, you took away the stuff from the gas station convenience store, right? When I parked, I saw that the shelves were still full through the glass. Nothing to say. Bainuan flattened his mouth, bent over and clicked on the big bags on the ground, and the things disappeared one by one. Watching Bainuan put the things in the back seat of the off-road vehicle into the space, Lu Xing later asked about the size of the space, and then asked, can a living person hide in it? Bainuan is a bit regretful, no, all living creatures can't, they will die. Otherwise, if you encounter danger and hide in it, wouldn't it be beautiful? Bainuan thought of this as soon as he got the space. At that time, he also specifically called up the space usage instructions and checked it. The above said that all living entities will die when entering the space, and the host Bainuan himself cannot enter. Once entered, it is regarded as cheating and directly sent back to the original world. In other words, you can't hide anyone, you can only put things away. Lu Xing pondered for a while and asked, will zombies die if they enter? If it weren't for her familiarity, Bainuan would like to pat OSS on the shoulder. Although the heights are different, the heroes see the same. Bainuan had also thought about it a long time ago. If all the living things are collected in, they will die immediately. Isn't it just used to kill zombies? The zombies are going to bite people, click a little bit, collect the space, and get it done. Or to see which bad guy is not pleasing to the eye, click a little bit, and take it into the space, and get it done. However, it doesn't work. It is clearly written in the manual that the function of killing living creatures with space must not be used in this way, and the system will be regarded as cheating. Bainuan lied, no, take the zombies in, and the space will explode. Lu Xingqi listened and nodded slightly, and glanced sharply up and down Bainuan's bizarre clothes. Where is your space? In apocalyptic novels, the portable space is generally a bracelet and jade pendant. 99% of them are handed down from the ancestors, and 10% have to drop blood to recognize the Lord. It's not warm. Bainuan looked at him warily, you care about me? I won't tell you. Knowing that she was afraid of being robbed by others, Lu Xingqi stopped questioning. He called Bainuan to the trunk and opened 2 aluminum alloy briefcases. Bainuan could not speak immediately. The large briefcase was full of cash, and the small one contained neatly arranged gold bars, bright yellow and dazzling. Bainuan has never seen so much money in her life. Although money will soon become waste paper, it is still useful in the early stage of the outbreak. Some people habitually like these colorful pieces of paper, and then slowly accept bartering. Take these 2 boxes into your space. The box with gold is heavy and it consumes too much fuel on the car. Lu Xingqi said. Bainuan was relieved from shock and asked, "You give me all the supplies and money, just aren't you afraid that my money will run away? Even if it's gold, it won't be of much use after a while," Lu Xing said lightly. "A person who would risk being bitten by a zombie to save an asthma patient would probably not be able to escape with the money." Lu Xing closed the suitcase slowly and paused for a while before saying again, "I remember that when my grandma was still alive when she was a child, she also had severe asthma. If she was sick, I would also like someone to come and help her." Bainuan understands. This is a blunder, and the trust value of OSS has been brushed. What is the most precious and hard to find in the last days? It is not a survival material for survival, nor is it a deadly weapon of murder. Is a reliable character. After all, good people generally die faster and will soon become a rare species. Bainuan's face remained silent, and she secretly compared happily in her heart. However, Lu Xingqi turned around, leaned over to a place only an inch from Bainuan, and stared at her. "Step back, if you are really unreliable, your loss must be greater than mine." After speaking, stretched out an index finger, and gently poked the invisible 10 ring on Bainuan's forehead. "This is a bright threat." Bainuan became unhappy, staring at him with wide-eyed eyes, a chill on his forehead, as if there were really more nails. Lu Xingqi seemed to be satisfied with Bainuan's reaction. He actually smiled, retracted his fingers, turned and continued to pack things. Bainuan put the pile of things into the space, and Du Ruo returned. "There are only so many common medicines I can think of." He put down the bag in his hand and said, "Lu Xingqi, I found 2 outdoor supplies stores and they closed them all. Are you looking for an outdoor goods store?" Suddenly someone next to him said, "I know there is one." It turned out to be the couple in the supermarket just now. The wife walked slowly with her husband, and the man looked much better. Fortunately, the man has an iron buddy who grew up with him, and he opened an outdoor goods store, and he could do it with one phone call. 20 minutes later, everyone saw the treasure of a store. The store sells outdoor products as well as military products, and the variety is very complete. "Little girl, your neck guard is not good, try this." The boss carried out a bunch of good things. Thin and soft stab-resistant neck guards like ordinary collars, and small stab-resistant gloves. The upper and lower stab-resistant clothing, like underwear, is invisible when worn inside. It is light and soft like ordinary clothes, comparable to soft hedgehog armor. The capital cannot be penetrated, let alone the tooth of a zombie. Bainuan took off the cervical spine therapy device, peeled off the magazine, put on stab-resistant clothing, and changed into a fitted jacket and outdoor boots. Change shotgun from top to bottom. This is the real eschatological costume. Du Ruo also changed such a set, but Lu Xingqi refused, still wearing his clothes that were not apocalyptic at all. Bainuan did not force him. The male protagonist, Shui, is the first, he probably won't die anyway. Lu Xingqi went around the store and bought a lot of other outdoor products, such as tent sleeping bags, inflatable sleeping mats, emergency lights and so on. Bainuan selected several wood-burning stoves and cassette stoves, and asked the boss to bring in all the butane gas tanks in stock. Lu Xingqi glanced at her stoves, "Are you going to escape or go for a picnic?" Bainuan replied while studying the cassette stove, "Escape and picnic, all without delay." Before leaving, Lu Xingqi suggested to the outdoor store owner to replace the money with supplies as much as possible, and hurry out of the city as soon as possible. It is 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Bainuan remembered it very clearly. The book said that when the big clock in the city center struck 7 o'clock, the first batch of zombies broke through the checkpoint and poured into Ningcheng. If the beta version of the system ceases to be a demon, in about 2 hours, Ningcheng's defense line will collapse. The 3 people left the outdoor store. Bainuan thought that Lu Xingqi would take everyone out of the city, but found him driving back to the city center. Many shops in the city center are still open. Your space is bigger than I expected. Let's continue shopping. Liu Xingqi whispered to Bainuan. Also, take advantage of the abundant supplies now, hurry up and buy as much as possible. Facts have proved that men are scarier than women when they go shopping spree. After a while, Liu Xingqi handed over dozens of identical white shirts, trousers, underwear, etc. to Bainuan, and said faintly, "It's a change." Bainuan really wanted to ask him in his sentence, "Excuse me, this big brother, are you going to escape or go on a business trip for a meeting?" After the third batch of things disappeared inexplicably, Du Ruo recalled. Asked about the space, and started a crazy purchase. He probably emptied the only imported food supermarket in Ningcheng. It's mainly because I eat more tasteless things. Du Ruo declared. Fine. What happened to that big box after big box of board games? Du Ruo plausibly said, it is estimated that there will be network and power outages in the future, so there must be some entertainment. Can you play werewolf? Bainuan is speechless. Two protagonists. I am wearing an eschatological essay, right? Right? In space there were a lot more things. Bainuan checked it again, and silently stroked the timeline of the original book in his heart. After three people's crazy purchases, it was more than enough to survive the end of this book with the materials in the space. It was 6 o'clock, and there was still an hour before Ningcheng fell. Are we out of town now? Bainuan asked Liu Xingqi. Liu Xingqi also looked down at his watch. He glanced up at the five-star hotel next to him, in a leisurely tone, no hurry. I'm going to open the room and take a shower first. Bainuan was a bit speechless. The zombies are about to rush into the city, do you still want to open the house and take a bath? It's too hygienic, this brother. Bainuan now understands that there is a reason why he looks so neat. All Tanmei novels, www.sto123.cc. Although Ningcheng is a small city, given the current road congestion, leaving 1 hour out of the city is barely enough. Luoss actually had to take a bath. Bainuan hesitated whether to drag them out of the city resolutely. Because in the original book, the team did not have time to get out of the city before the zombies broke through the defense line. In the original book, everyone was unprepared for the sudden arrival of the end times. After escaping from the city of S, in addition to food, they also purchased other necessities everywhere in Ningcheng. Especially when Liu Xing drove late at the time, it was Du Ruo's Karen Orange Trot. The chassis of the car was too low, and the road conditions were a little more complicated, so the game was over, so I temporarily changed to an off-road vehicle in Ningcheng, which took a lot of time. It was because the squad didn't have time to get out of the city, and when they were killing zombies on the road, they encountered another member of the squad. Liu Xingqi is fully equipped and properly equipped this time. Unlike the original plot, he has plenty of time. Bainuan is not too surprised. Xiao San said it, the beta version, it is normal for anything crooked. Bainuan decided to listen to Liu Xing's late and watch the changes. When this kind of chaos is happening, the lobby of the hotel is empty, and the doorman and security are nowhere to be seen. Only a beautiful front desk lady was still guarding, and she was absent-mindedly watching the small video of zombies attacking people circulating on the internet on her mobile phone. Seeing Bainuan and the others came, they put down their phones and smiled reluctantly. After checking in, Bainuan asked her, "Aren't you leaving?" The manager said that those of us on duty can't evacuate. We must first check the situation and wait for the head office to notify. The young lady laughed like crying, "You can't ask for leave. The bonus will be gone this month. Bonus or fate is important." Bainuan scared her. "We just came from City S. The zombies are the same as the ones in the movie. They bite when you see people. It seems that they are already outside the checkpoint. You will rush in after a while. Are you still working here? You can receive the award if you become a zombie. Is it gold?" The young lady was moved by her, my mom kept calling me just now to let me go back to my home in the country. If I have a house and land, it must be better than in the city. Bainuan agreed. Then what are you waiting for? Go back quickly. Miss Sister asked, why don't you leave? Bainuan replied solemnly, we must hurry before the end of the world, and seize the last time to enjoy life. Lu Xing opened the top-level presidential suite late room. This reason is very reasonable. The young lady looked at Bainuan's beautiful face, and then at the tall and handsome Lu Xingqi and Du Ruo behind her. After thinking about the combination of these two men and a woman, she suddenly realized her face. Yes, you should hurry up and enjoy your life. I wish you three, well, have a good time. The young lady threw the mouse away, took out the bag from the cabinet below, didn't even change her uniform, stepped on her high heels and turned around and ran. Unsurprisingly, accompanied by Xiao Jiaohe's rattling away, a magical wow ha 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 rang in Bainuan's mind. The little green line of the Virgin value moved forward a little bit. The double bonus of the voice of the Virgin is not too much, but it is better than nothing. After reading it, Bainuan turned around and found that Lu Xingqi and Du Ruo were speechless. What's wrong? Bainuan was inexplicable. Nothing. Lu Xingqi and Du Ruo replied in unison. Bainuan suddenly wanted to understand what was wrong. Looking at the back of the lady at the front desk, Bainuan wanted to get her back. Wait, what do you think of this sister? You are completely wrong. Hey! It seemed that no one had come to take them upstairs. Lu Xingqi picked up the room card by himself and wanted to go to the elevator. Bainuan glanced at the double halo of the voice of the Virgin, which was counting down in the upper right corner. There are still the last 2 minutes. It's a pity that the double halo that I finally got is wasted like this. Wait for me, I'll be right back. Bainuan confessed, turning around and ran to the door. After exiting the revolving door of the hotel, there was still a lot of traffic outside, and all the pedestrians on the road were serious and hurried. Bainuan looked back at Lu Xingqi who was looking at her through the glass door, then glanced at the progress bar of the Virgin Mary above, gathered courage, took a deep breath, and let go of his throat. Zombies are coming! Run away, everyone! After a howling, the Madonna really moved forward slowly. Everyone passing by looked at Bainuan with crazy eyes. The scene was extremely embarrassing. But thinking that these people will become zombies in a while, and they won't remember this kind of thing at all, Bainuan immediately didn't feel so ashamed. For the value of the Virgin, fight it! Run quickly! The zombies are about to enter the city. Before he came out, his arm was grabbed, and he was carried back into the hotel lobby like a sack. Lu Xingqi dragged her back and threw her into the sofa. He put his arms around his chest. Bainuan, what is the first article of the 3 chapters? Listen to your command, nothing, allow yourself to make arbitrary decisions. Bainuan said vaguely. Do you remember? Then before you went out and shouted, did you ask me? Lu Xingqi said badly. I'm just going out to say something, do I have to ask you too? Bainuan whispered. At this time, if you yell and scream, you may be arrested for disturbing public security and creating panic. Everything is on you. I have to find a way to fish you. Is it to add chaos? Lu Xingqi, don't be so fierce and frighten the little girl. Du Ruo sat down beside Bainuan and smiled at Bainuan. I know that you want to save one more. But the news has spread long ago, and those who wanted to run ran early. Some people are really reluctant to leave. Where do you want them to leave home? In fact, it is also a way to stay and find a place to stay. Lu Xingqi squinted at Bainuan, I'll give you a warning first, and if you do it again next time, don't even think about following us. Sure enough, OSS was unhappy. And as Bainuan expected, although he was unhappy, it was just a few words. After all, the space where nearly 1,000 square meters can still keep food fresh is extremely precious in the last days. He wouldn't drive her away so easily, Lu Xingqi was not stupid. So where is the bottom line of LUOSS? Beinuan couldn't help being a little curious. The presidential suite is spacious and luxurious. There are 3 bathrooms. Beinuan also took a shower. After coming out, he went to the suite kitchen to start boiling water. What are you doing? Du Ruo wiped her hair and dangled over to visit. While there is still electricity, boil more water and put it away. The boiling water is put into the upper layer of the space where there is no time to flow, and when it is taken out, it still boils, which is quick and convenient to use. It's a pity that there are not too many pots and pans that can hold water. Beinuan is a little regretful. I have a way, Du Ruo gave an idea. You pour the water into the sky and put it in the space when you pour it, so you don't need a container. Beinuan gave him a glance, then when I took it out, the boiling water fell on me. Du Ruo sneered, it's not impossible to be careful at all. But he made a lot of sense. There is no need for a container at all, and the water will not flow turbulently in a portable space where there is no time to flow. Beinuan boiled the water this time, and quickly tapped the surface of the water with his finger. When he took it into the space, he only needed water instead of the pot, and it succeeded. A lump of hot water is like a piece of crystal clear jelly, and like a piece of ice, it still retains its shape when it is in the pot. Except that the fingertips are hot when they reach the hot water, there is nothing wrong with it. Beinuan immediately fired several stoves at the same time, and they were in the space for a while. Code a row of hot water blocks. Speaking of which, of course cold water can also be stored in the space without a container. One cold water block after another was made faster, and it didn't take long for Beinuan to use cold water to form a whole wall. So what are you doing now? Du Ruo asked. Beinuan laboriously tore open a packet of hot pot seasoning. I want to cook a pot of mandarin ducks, bring it to a boil, and put it in the space, so that when I want to eat it, it's still boiling. It's so convenient. The zombies outside are coming, she is still wondering how to eat hot pot. People didn't understand the world of food. Du Ruo immediately recognized this confidant. He stood behind Beinuan, watching her put the mutton rolls and fat beef slices, a little pitiful. What if I want to eat it now? It must be too late to eat now. A bell pierced the glass and fell into Beinuan's ears. The sound became a little dull but clear under the barrier of the glass. Beinuan's heart trembled with the sound of the bell, and looked back out the window. Not far away is the big clock in the city center. The last ray of sunset passed the clock face and disappeared. The 7 o'clock bell rang again and again, and the whole city was like a big ship, slowly sinking into darkness. The bathroom door opened. Lu Xingqi had already packed up, and walked out leisurely, buttoning the buttons on the cuffs of his shirt. Beinuan looked at his incomprehensible face and thought, Lu Xingqi, I will bet all the treasure on you, the hero. If you don't leave the city at this time, come to the hotel crazy with you, don't let me down. Beinuan put the boiling hot pot into the space and looked down from the window. Sure enough, a large group of running people rushed in the direction of S1 high speed. The line of defense broke through. The zombies ran as fast as a living person, and they couldn't tell who was who for a while. Du Ruo took out a long black cloth bag. Beinuan had seen the thing poking outside the bag a long time ago. Du Ruo opened the mouth of the bag and took out a knife from the inside. The bells and whistles, like spy props. What is this? Beinuan leaned over. Ming Hong Dao. Du Ruo said solemnly. When the ancient Huangdi cast the Xian Yuan sword, the remaining materials automatically flowed into the shape of a knife. The Huangdi felt that the sword was too intent to kill and had to be destroyed with the Xian Yuan sword. As a result, the sword turned into a bird by itself and ran away. Beinuan. This one's secondary illness is out of help. Beinuan stretched out his hand and touched it. Sure enough, the knife didn't even open the blade. Beinuan scanned the space, and seriously took out a very simple and practical crowbar. With a weight in his hand, Bainuan waved a small arm and made a symbolic swing in the air. With a swish, the person almost flew out with the crowbar. "Du Ruo. It's okay," Du Ruo comforted Bainuan, "anyway, we have him." Liu Xingqi was calmly pressing the spikes into the magazine, and 2 boxes were filled in a blink of an eye.